Welcome to Pulse of Tech by SEAP, Pune's leading technology podcast from SEAP, the city's premier platform for tech organizations delivering cutting edge discussions and insights.
We use electricity every single day, but have you ever wondered where does this actually come from? Today, we are joined by Rounak Muthiyan, Founder Director of Kalpa Power. The conversation with Rounak will help us understand how renewable energy can be treated as an intelligent asset rather than a commodity. Let's welcome Rounak to this episode of Pulse of Tech by SEAP, who, by the way, shares a common hobby with me of playing all kinds of sports. Welcome to Pulse of Tech by SEAP, and good morning, Rounak.
Good morning, great to be here.
So, Rounak, you specialized in power system economics at George Washington University, right? And how did studying economics of power change the way you view renewable energy rather than a traditional solar energy engineer?
So yeah, I think you can say it was a choice of accident, if what you can call so. So I've been studying electrical power, or you can call as power systems, today what we see and live and breathe with for the past more than 2.5 decades now. As a part of my master's thesis dissertation, I was working on integration of renewable technologies or renewable systems into a traditional grid. And what I realized is when you're working with utilities like oil, gas, water, power, unless and until the economics makes sense, it's very hard for any new technology to come and work together. So studying power system economics was you can call it as a wonderful cocktail of two very different streams coming together to actually make sense. So the engineering stream bought the technological prowess, but at the end of the day, the economics drove the efficiency, the reliability, or the eventual impact that it could have on the human civilizations, or you can call it human progress. So economics kept you grounded, while the engineering tried to sort of drive you forward in terms of what new tech can actually build up.
Okay. And I mean, in terms of economics, it helped you study of economics. It helped you in terms of understanding how this entire ecosystem of energy works and how it can be capitalized as well, right?
Sure. Even today, now, so probably more relevant. We were just coming on to understand the impact of carbon on the planet, and the demand drivers were there that yes, carbon is becoming a problem and a challenge, and renewables would require to be a mainstay going forward, which we are very much here now in the 2020, now sitting in 2026, but this was back in 2007 if I'm not mistaken. And economics really helped us drive that one step forward to understand how does renewable technology go forward.
Okay. So before founding Kalpa, you really held like influential roles in IHS, Berkeley's research group, right? And many other companies as well.
Sure.
What was the light bulb moment where you thought that now is the time to get started with your own venture?
Sure. So probably you'll have to step back a little before my time. So I started. So my first campus placement, if you would call so, was actually in a company called Berkeley Research Group, as you rightly mentioned. But before that, I have always been participating in pitch deck competitions, elevator competitions, and startup summits. And I'm very happy that the name Kalpa is actually coming from a competition that we had actually participated for, an MIT elevator competition.
I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, so it came from, so Kalpa has two meanings. Kalpa is the age of sun. In Sanskrit, it is called from beginning of time to end. So we are calling ourselves, so we right now living in 4 yug, right? We are into Kal Yug is what we say, and now Treta Yug. Okay. When all yugs come together, that is one Kalp. Oh. So the name Kalpa comes from the age of sun. The name came from my days of participating almost every month into one startup competition or a business plan competition, if you don't call so. So the entrepreneurial bug was always there. But one thing which was always very true is startups for me were a one-way street. Starting up a company was very evident very early on in my life. But I also knew that once I started something, I wanted to create a much longer legacy, a much longer uh, you can call runway to sort of progress. But giving myself those early 5-10 years into large organizations really helped me understand how things are being worked, what are the operational efficiencies that are needed to be driven, what are the disciplines, how our systems actually work and function, right?
So, natural career progression is what everybody would
Sure.
go for,
Sure.
right? So that one moment when you decided that, oh, okay, while I need to go to or get ahead with my own venture.
This might sound silly, but the day I started, not this day I stopped working and started managing, is when I started to ask myself, can I do this on my own rather than doing it for someone else, right?
Okay. Okay.
So it was that decision that made me realize that now there is the ability to deliver on oneself and one's ability is there. And it was also a good coincidence that India was at an inflection point.
Correct.
This was around 2014,
Okay.
which made me realize that yes, now the transition is possible and real.
Okay. And you have often stated that Kalpa was born out of a motto: reliable, affordable, and sustainable.
Sure.
But in the earlier days, what was the hardest part to convince your CNI clients to pay for?
Sure. Let me walk you back a little bit earlier, right? So I am a millennium kid, as we are. I've been born and brought up in Pune, and back in like late 90s, early 2000s, we had this concept of called load shedding.
Yes.
So every household in the city, at least, if you were to say,
still in my hometown, it is there.
Sure. So we can speak about that. But there's this concept called load shedding, right? Which very primarily meant that the systems, the electrical grid was not able to handle the amount of electricity that was needed to be delivered. So the bottleneck would have either been in generating the power, in transmitting the power, or in the final last mile connectivity. So that's where the tagline of reliable, affordable, and sustainable comes from. And that's the reason studying economics was extremely important. So the decision actually started out of adversity, like most companies want to try to create. So I believe great companies are actually made when there's pressure exerted, right? That's where diamonds are done from coal. But the ability to be reliable came from the ability that when you want to engage with Kalpa Power as an organization, we want to be certain that we will always be there. So my mantra to my team is, if the customer is not calling you, you're doing a good job. I still remember the first time I had gone in to pitch a large tech organization. They had asked me, this sounds great. I have seen solar calculators having a small solar strip on top which can charge the battery, but how can it run my steel plant, or how can it run my data center? And we had to convince them that no, the technology actually works and this is how it is going to be. And I met a lovely gentleman who was around 60 years old, and he actually made me draw atoms and electrons to show how the power flow works. But yeah, those were the days. Reliability was on top of people's minds, and that's what we were trying to scale to begin with.
So, Kalpa Power isn't just a EPC, right? Engineering, procurement, and construction company, but you call it a energy management company. Why is the entire life cycle from design to asset management critical for the Indian market?
I would say it's important for every market, India more so. Primarily, please do understand that the last 25 years we have come from a place of being deficient in power to now being sufficient. I think the transition in the next 20 years is going to be from being sufficient to taking power of choice. In the entire life cycle of a power plant can actually run probably 5 decades or more. Today, the Indian promise or the global benchmark of understanding is a solar power plant runs for around 30 years. The construction time for a solar power plant, on the contrary, can be as short as 90 days or probably within a year. Okay. So, do you want to be engaging with the customer for the duration of 90 days or a year, or do you want to be with them for the entire 30 years? So, the engineering part of the solar power plant is very important. That's when you actually take an assessment on the feasibility, the viability of the project, the location, the sizing, the type of components you're choosing, but always keeping in mind as what is the end impact that you're going to create. We also have a tagline of being sustainable, right? So sustainable is not only the power that you're delivering, is also the equipments that you're selecting and is the longevity of the plant. So when we say we are partners in the energy management process, it is very important to understand that we don't want to be there only when we are constructing the plant. We also want to be there to cover the entire amount of electricity that can be generated. Again, the economist of me comes out. A solar power plant probably can yield 30x the amount of revenue that is generated from the cost of the power plant. The only difference is how do you manage that. So what is the value scale, what is the value time you want to be involved in, right? And at the end of the day, one really amazing thing about India, and we've not spoken about the Indian macro, but just a small bit on it. India today probably adds anywhere between 50 gigawatt to 75 gigawatts of installed power capacity.
Okay.
So we are probably adding one country a year, a European country a year by size, right? And this projection, the best case projection is we keep doing this for the next 10 years. So please do understand that when you are adding as much capacity as we are, it's very important to manage that.
Okay.
And there are challenges that are coming around with it, but we are ready to deal with. So being an energy management company really helps us stay with the product and the customer that we're serving for the entire life cycle. And hence, the decision to construct is easier because the decision to manage is the one that you need to focus on.
Anything which we do in India, the sheer scale of it just makes it different to whatever any other country would envision it on, right?
Sure.
Yeah, this is a completely different, more like towards Kalpa's vision on this. That you describe your management as a bumper to bumper model, right?
Sure.
How do you maintain the level of accountability over this 25-year life cycle of any? Whereas most of the industry is focused on like day of commissioning kind of a model.
Certainly. So two things help. I think spending 10 years in North America where 80% of the revenue was only coming with managing assets because there was no build outs happening.
Okay.
I think the last sizable power plant commissioned in North America, not US, is probably in 1990s. Was the last large gigawatt scale commissioned plant. Leave alone the last 5 years, which are now getting a boom because of the data centers, and we'll touch on that as well. But what made me realize is there is a lot of latent potential in just managing the asset.
Okay.
So that's something that has made me driven to understand the value of management. In India, you have an added benefit that you're originating, as we mentioned, 50 gigawatts per year. This last year, the Indian government has made a announcement that this was the highest year of installation, and we have done somewhere around 45 gigawatts of solar power. So we are now larger than America in total installed capacity on a year-on-year growth basis, only second to China. Doing the bumper to bumper again comes from three places. The name Kalpa, we are going to be here from the beginning to the end, absolutely essential. Looking at the total economic value created by the energy generated from the project, as I mentioned, it's probably 30x to the cost of the construction. And also speaking about really power is one technology, as I mentioned. Any base utility, you talk about data, you talk about power, you talk about petrol, or you talk about gasoline. If your viewers hear that, you only start knowing the importance when you don't have it. And I think the bumper to bumper is really giving you that comfort that once you're with us, you're taken care of.
So Rounak, you spoke about like in the CNI space about your repeated customers, right? But still, like the biggest share or the lion's share of energy supply is done by the government in this space.
Sure.
So are you looking at addressing this somewhere?
Sure, certainly. So just to give you some numbers and all our viewers or listeners' perspective, the Indian power grid, if I were to look at 100% of a pie, 35% of the electricity is coming by the central government. Around 25 to 30% comes from the state governments, and the balance is then sourced by individual power buyers. So everything we spoke about till now was only restricted to the people who are able to consume or buy their electricity themselves. So yes, the lion's share or the biggest share, as you rightly mentioned, does come from the government, and Kalpa has taken concrete steps towards that direction. So we are very happy to say that in the last 9 years of the company operating today, we have worked extensively to work on social empowerment through power. So there is a wonderful scheme that is working within the state of Maharashtra, where we're sitting here in Pune, called Mukhya Mantri Saur Krishi Vahini Yojana.
Yes.
Or then under the Government India scheme, the same name goes as Kusum, which also has a very nice analogy to it, or a name to it. But the idea is you're going and setting up these power plants within the state government's infrastructure or within the central government's infrastructure of providing these last mile power plants to take care of these reliability issues of load sheddings, loss of power. So Maharashtra has an ambitious target of setting up 16,000 megawatts or 16 gigawatts of power in the next 3 years. And Kalpa has sort of already started signing up on contracts. To date, we have commissioned 100 megawatts of such plants, and we are planning to do another 50 in this first half of this year.
Okay.
So absolutely, it is essential to engage with the governments for this, not from a position of choice, but from a position of delivery of power. Because at the end of the day, not everyone, I'm sure both of us would like to consume green power at our home as well, but we don't have a choice because you're going to be taking power from the distribution company.
Yeah, I mean, totally. But to follow up on that, it is very different to work with the government, like the rigid procedures which you might be, and for the lack of a better word, I'm saying rigid, but with the agility with which the private sector works. So the rigid procedures of the governmental sector, how do you manage that?
I think this is a wonderful place to sort of correct that misnomer. I don't know if there is anyone that has a sense of ownership that the government has. I think the government's ability to deliver continuity is something that we take for granted. The rigidity comes from their ability to say that we are going to be here, or the public infrastructure is going to be here regardless of the people.
Correct.
So for them, the end result is what we do, is what we challenge, is what we can't challenge. We're challenging the process of doing so.
Correct.
And eventually, public procurement is a much more complicated process. So the rigidity comes from accountability.
And spending public money actually.
Eventually, right? So if tomorrow they're going to construct a road between your house, I'm sure you're not going to like it. So they're going to have to follow due procedures to work. But I can tell you one thing: the sense of ownership that I have seen after coming back, spending a decade outside India, it's phenomenal. I think we are going through a sea change and a transformational. It's almost like the amount of new initiatives and energy that the current governments can want to deliver is unmatched to even the private sector.
Yeah, and we as common people will be oblivious to the fact that this is happening in the background,
Sure.
right? Since you work with them, you have that perspective, and that's why my question came out of ignorance. But I think
No, I wouldn't say it's not about the ignorance. It's actually about when you're trying to work with a system that doesn't have a name or a face to it, it becomes harder to create accountability.
correct. So I mean, you have a roadmap to scale from around 500 megawatt to 5 gigawatt by 2030.
Yeah.
So what is the one structural change you have made in Kalpa Power for that repeatable gigawatt scale?
Sure, this is probably a harder question than the earlier ones, right? So I think just doing of the same is probably the easier answer to say. But yes, there's a lot of structural changes that we do within. A big change that comes from sort of shifting from a hustler mindset of really trying to make your own to a scalable mindset is a process. What's the due process that you're able to follow? What's the systems that you're able to create? And I think that's where I want to give a lot of credit to the technology backbone that we have. Although I know we're not speaking about technology, and we will, but I think any process that needs massive, like quick scale up, cannot happen without a process, and the process has to be driven by tech. So I think the biggest change that Kalpa has done today is we are able to augment and speak real time to any and every power plant that we are even constructing, forget we are managing. And those data signals are very easy for us to then interpret, work on, and scale quicker.
Okay.
So I think if there is one structural change, it is trying to move from the from the perspective that it's a drive, it's the driver seat is the people that's running, which is extremely important. That's the heart. But I think the brain behind it is the technology that's really running it into scale.
Okay, fair point. I mean, and you recently launched Watt Bank at Amar's business zone, right?
Where we are sitting, yes.
Yeah, exactly where we are sitting. Why was now the right time to like productize, customize service?
Sure. So I'm gonna try to have a drawback to an earlier question about reliability, affordability, and sustainability. Right?
Just productize.
Probably so, but I would want to say that we are coming from a power place of being deficient to being sufficient, and now we are going to a choice-driven power. Solar is not the holy grail when it comes to what power is, right? Solar operates when the sun shines. Although we are a tropical country, we see 12-13 hours of sunlight throughout the year, and we have more than 300 days of sun, but it still works on a 12-hour basis. I think we are a global city, or we are a force to be reckoned on a 24-hour production cycle. So I cannot come to you and say, Parijat, please only work when the sun shines and stop working when it doesn't. Or then I cannot free ride on the grid. If I want to be a competitive force to be reckoned with, and I want to create a disruption not only in the new plants that we're constructing, but also take over and augment some of the past black power or carbon driven power, which is a definite cause of concern that is leading to climate change, that is leading to environmental concerns. Being reliable and being available when required. So the mantra that I am using today is saying that we are moving from availability based power to reliable power. So the transition is, how do you move from power when it is available, when the sun shines, to then giving you power when you need. And I think Watt Bank is that missing piece where then you're able to create control in terms of your power delivery.
Okay, and you're also promising like 50% of saving in peak evening hours,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So for a typical 1 megawatt facility, what does it mean? I mean, can you explain the economy of scale here?
Sure. I don't know. At the time of recording, this is very important. The technology is moving as quickly as. So probably it's important to say at the time of recording, these are the basis of numbers that are. But just to let you know, today, a cost of a solar power plant costs anywhere between 3 crores to 4 crore rupees a megawatt. It generates, on an average, 15 lakh units per megawatt. The cost of power today where we are sitting in Indian rupees is on an average around 10 rupees a unit for large industries. So that's sort of the economics of the solar power plant. Now, convert that to what a battery can do. A megawatt hour battery can generate a megawatt of power whenever you need. So you can cycle that power plant 2 times a day, 4 times a day, or 1 time a day. But what the battery can really do now is give you power when you most need. India is going through a sea change in terms of transformation in electricity pricing. 2025 was the first year when solar power in the daytime was cleared on the national electricity market at a rate of less than 2 rupees a unit. So please do understand that a base coal power plant, what we were sort of looking the country as, has a cost of power, an average cost of power, or what we call it in the industry terms as LCOE, or levelized cost of electricity, at a rate of 6 rupee. So the delta is 300%. So solar is now 300% cheaper than coal. To add Watt Bank is to make solar now compete with coal, which says that, hey, I don't need the sun to shine. Okay. I can just put a coal into a boiler and make it run into a steam turbine and run. So the missing piece of reliability is what Watt Bank is giving you. And the cost economics now need to be compared to when is the power most expensive. Just to give you an example, the cost of evening power in the country today is as high as 21 rupees, 22 rupees. So delta between a 2 rupee power from the solar, from the sun, which is available in the morning, to offsetting 22 rupee power, that's the arbitrage that you're able to play. And that arbitrage can change across industries. So large commercial establishments have a rate of 22 rupees. Large industries have a rate of 12 rupee plus. Large institutions, hotels, hospitals, any service establishments have rates of north of 16 rupees in the state where we are sitting. And batteries can give you that solution today. Okay. So the cost of battery, or the 50% saving, minimum 50% saving is what we're saying, comes from this ability of just injecting a battery and taking a very cheap, abundantly available source of power to make it available when you need it.
Very interesting. I mean, and you have built an in-house energy management system, right?
Yeah.
How does owning this intelligence layer control the ways? I mean, how do you control, optimize, deliver energy?
Sure. So, I think we're coming to a point of orchestrating multiple sources of energy. Today, the electrons or the internet or the light that you turn on or the air conditioning you're sitting in, you really don't know where the power is coming from, right? I don't think anyone can say that today the power we're using, is it coming from a solar plant, a coal plant, a hydro, a nuclear, a wind, whatever it is, right? The energy management system is putting the onus of managing multiple sources of energy together. So the reason why we always speak about renewable energy rather than we speak about solar energy is we believe that solar is a mainstay for the country we are operating and will continue to do so. But we can't take away the ability of the other sources of energy that are available, right? Be it wind, be it battery energy storage system. So the energy management system is this key layer that's integrating multiple sources of power to deliver unified, dependable, reliable, sustainable energy whenever you need it.
Okay.
So that's the reason Kalpa is very happy to take on. So we have of late spoken about watt bank, and we are also installing certain wind turbines as we speak. So these are actually creating a larger orchestration of 24 hours of reliable, sustainable power. Affordable for sure.
So you argue that the industry is shifting from installed capacity to reliable delivery, right?
Sure.
Why is megawatt hour more valuable to a manufacturer than a megawatt on their roof?
Sure. So I think Kalpa is leading that change, and we are forcing a change in paradigm shift. And a lot of the accolades that we've received from the industry and a lot of the success that we've seen is changing the paradigm of saying what is the lowest cost of installed capacity to what is the lowest cost of installed energy or delivered energy. And that shift really comes from the ability to work on changing your paradigm of saying how much megawatts can be installed at the lowest cost to what is a megawatt hour of energy delivered, and what is the footprint in terms of size, in terms of capacity, in terms of your total bill of material, if you want to say so, to deliver the maximum energy available. So I think that shift, I'm very happy that we are driving that change in the industry and we're seeing the results. So the industry is also agreeing and working towards. But that one shift, I think, will really make sure that every piece of metal or every piece of silicon or every piece of battery tech that is actually delivered towards that one single purpose of saying what's the best cost of delivery to do.
And you have always said that the challenge has moved from electrification to grid orchestration, right?
Sure.
With and now the power flow reversing from west to east India.
Sure.
What are the technical hurdles you are seeing here?
I think this is a fantastic, almost philosophical question of sorts. But please do understand, since the advent of electricity, energy has flowed from a major supply center, being your power plant, into the homes and cities and workplaces that we did. Okay. For India, naturally, it came from the ability of where our mines were available. So most of India's mines are situated in the central and eastern core of the country, and most of our demand centers or most of our larger cities are in the west and south. So the power used to naturally flow from where the energy was created on the mine top to the load centers of the country. What changed is the amount of available solar radiation in the country is much more on the western half than the eastern half.
Again, a new thing which we are learning today.
Completely new, right? Completely different, right? So we all know that there is a Thar desert that India has, but do you know the highest amount of solar radiation that we have today available is not in the Thar desert? It's actually in the high deserts of Leh and Ladakh. So the Indian government's now having an ambitious target of setting up a 10 gigawatt plant in Leh and Ladakh to bring energy back into the country. So all of these demands not electrification challenges but orchestration. how do you move the power from where it is being generated to where it needs to be consumed. Just to give you an example, India is developing the largest power plant, single-site largest power plant in the world today, called the Khavda Solar Park.
Okay.
This power plant should be visible from the moon even today as we speak. We are 30% into the completion of this power plant. By the end of it, it will be a 30 gigawatt plant, which is 30,000 megawatts. To give you a comparison of size, Maharashtra's electricity grid 5 years ago was that size.
Whoa.
It's a single location power plant which would be spanning hundreds of square kilometers. I don't know the exact number, otherwise I would have told you, but it's going to be definitely a huge size of a power plant. How do you move this power into wherever it is required is the orchestration challenge. So truly we believe the role of transmission, the role of high voltage transmission, where a lot of tech comes into play, would be very critical for us to be able to deliver that amount of power when it is required. A very interesting thing, I think, which all your viewers would be keen to know is India is looking to call itself as the data center capital of the world very quickly. And data centers need two things: reliable internet and unlimited power whenever required.
Correct.
And we are taking very serious, significant steps in that regards. So just to give you an example, Google's setting up the largest data center in the world in Visakhapatnam. It's a 3 gigawatt data center. So just to give you again a size comparison, 3 gigawatts of power probably is equivalent to the power a large city consumes. That's going to be consumed in a campus today that is probably any sizable campus based in Pune. Might be take any campus in phase 3, which is a larger campus. That's the power consumption a single building is going to do. A single building is going to do. So orchestration becomes extremely critical and important for us to start focusing toward.
So, and you famously efficiently manage your inventory through your digital transformation programs. Right?
Sure.
So, do you want to talk to the viewers about it?
Sure. So yeah, I think again, if I were to tie threads, I love history, by the way. So you will see I speak a lot about how that helps us drive and build. But we were very early adopters of technology. I think we've been awarded by NASSCOM as the best tech implementer outside technology for 2 years running. We have been part of a lot of Salesforce dev conferences where we speak about how so Salesforce traditionally is a CRM product, as all know, but we are using as a full-blown ERP. And I think once we did it, Salesforce actually has released a suite of products for the utility business, which speaks about what all it can do as a utility operator. But really doubling down on tech in the early days when we were still building the proof of concept of building a moat around tech, around the delivery of product, we did early on realize that the biggest baggage that any EPC company or eventually we are sort of controlling inventory to deliver product, is what drives down efficiency or what drives down margins, if you want to call so, is the ability to carry inventory or is the ability to efficiently manage inventory. With tech, what we could really do is we have a single unified view today as a cockpit, if you want to call so, where I can see each and every SKU that we have, each and every to the last nut and bolt we have anywhere in the system in the country. So I have everything from a hard-coded physical tech warehouse management product, where I know where my screw and inventory is going and sitting into a power plant, and that is being managed in central office, in my office in Pune. Okay. So right from the life of it being produced to the life of it being consumed on the site is actually physically managed on the ground, but also there is a digital twin that we created that is managing this entire inventory and infrastructure. So that helps us become GIT, which is called just-in-time systems. Excuse me. That also helps us make sure that our inventory carrying cost is low, because at any point of time, it gives you a real-time view of what's available. And at the last and most important, why we built it very early on, is it ensures there is extremely low downtime, even if there is, because tomorrow if there's a failure, we know where that component's available somewhere else and how quickly can it reach. Okay. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, we are only called on when we are not operating.
And what is the first dashboard you open up in the morning to see?
How much energy is generated today?
Very interesting. So, I mean, you were talking about SQs as well, right? So, you mostly use LFP for watt banks,
Yes.
right? Why is LFP the winner for the Indian CNI sector and other chemistries like NMC, solid state?
So I don't think we can say any technology is a clear winner. Please do understand that power or energy or electricity as an industry always will choose everything of the above option. It is when it becomes economically viable and scalable is when any technology is adopted. So we might not be on the forefront of technology creation,
But where it is,
but we are on the forefront of adopting at scale.
Correct.
So just to give you an example, today the world consumes, so solar consumes more silicon than probably a silicon chip.
Correct. Agreed.
Because the solar module has silica, has a solar wafer, and we're consuming that at a huge scale. We are the largest consumers of copper on the earth as technology that's required to generate electricity. We will be very quickly the largest consumers of lithium in the world as battery tech. Not into what your mobile phones or your computers have. Today they have done it. They have done it for last 5, 10, 15 years. We are waiting for the cost economics to hit in which all of this becomes super economical and efficient.
Okay.
So I think we are probably 3 to 5 years away from incorporating solid states. I think the industry word that we use is called as long duration storage, and they're definitely going to be a game changer. But until then, lithium is here today to help. The electric power grid is the most complex and fascinating tech, Parijat, I would want to say so, because the interoperability of technology is there, the ability to make sure that whenever you're turning on the switch, the electricity is available to flow, and actually no one's talking to each other. So imagine the headache of the scheduler to understand that today Parijat's going to charge his mobile phone, or is going to start charging his electric vehicle, or going to cook food, or going to have a hot water shower. None of this is ever known to the grid operator.
Yeah.
But at all and every point of time, they have to keep scheduling enough power so that you never feel the loss of. So we are the largest interconnected machine in the world.
So this orchestration wouldn't be, I mean, nobody would have thought, nobody as in at least people like us who are just consumers of this
Sure.
Of this energy would
Sure.
have never thought that this is how much it goes behind the scenes to actually orchestrate power to your
Absolutely.
home, right? I mean, I will love to talk to you about this tech,
Sure.
right? And as I've always said, we can do this all day. but still, we'll go to a different section where I try talking about Pune in general.
Sure.
You are like completely a Punekar based out of Pune,
Absolutely.
right? So Kalpa is headquartered in Pune.
Yes.
And Pune is called the Detroit of the East,
Sure.
right? How has being surrounded by Pune and Pune's massive manufacturing hub here
Sure.
helped Kalpa grow in?
Certainly. So I think Pune is, as you mentioned, the Detroit of the East. It's also called the Oxford of the East. It's one among the largest auto manufacturing hubs. It's one of the largest educational hubs. It's also a frontier city in terms of within the country's ecosystem and within the states, a frontier city when it comes to cluster-based approaches of development, right? So it's no different to solar. It's no different to renewables. It's no different to energy storage. Today, Pune is one among the largest manufacturing hubs for battery storage tech. It is one of the largest hubs for commercial energy management companies like us. So what really drove that is the ability of having a ready potential on skill, on manpower, and also the know-how of development through coordination rather than competition. I think that really helped. The reason Kalpa started working on commercial and industrial consumers first is because they were right next door. If I was operating a company out of some other part of the country, it would have been probably easier to go to a government entity because we didn't have as much private sector development there. So a lot of what Kalpa is today, we speak about inventory management, where I don't think power companies need to speak about inventory management, but coming from a city where auto ancillaries or auto manufacturers are a huge part, and inventory is a huge topic for them. It becomes a huge topic of importance for us, and that gives a scale up. Similarly, being a big tech part, right? I think Pune is considered one among the top 5 tech cities in the country, probably in the top 50 in the world. Our tech adoption is driven from our ability to be in Pune.
Okay.
So I think the ecosystem in where you operate is extremely important, and I cannot take anything away from the city.
And you have always said that capital isn't a problem here.
Sure.
Skills are.
Sure.
So how does Kalpa's local involvement help to grow this skill in Pune?
Sure. So a megawatt of coal power plant, just to give you some context, probably requires 500 temporary jobs to construct and probably 50 to operate. A solar power plant for the similar size would require 5x the manpower, because we are looking at a larger area, we are looking at a larger ability to do. So skills and manpower are super critical. The growth target that the country has set up for itself is today the solar total installed capacity of renewables in the country might be 200 gigawatts, and we have to go to 500 gigawatts in the next 5 years or 4 years now. So the biggest problem is the availability of right skilled people. Capital is available because we have seen success. Capital is available because it is the need of the hour. But the skill gap is something which is pressing, which is something that the macro cannot solve, it's the micro that needs to do, and that's what Kalpa is doing. So we are very happy to have a very robust graduate trainee program. We are looking at dealing with a lot of institutions around the state and the country for taking graduate trainees every year. We take a batch of 50 a year or more in some cases. We do have a management training program as well, and we actually make them go through a skill gap university kind of a training school, where we try to make them understand the ethos of what Kalpa does. Why do we do what we do?
Okay.
Why is first time right a good approach to do? What is the ability to create dependability, longevity, ability to perform in all times possible is super important. So at the end of the day, I always say that skills are something that we are going to be fighting with, not capital.
Very interesting. And I mean, a different SEAP, but
Sure.
Solar Energy Association of Pune, right?
Absolutely.
You are you are a leader there, right? So what are the common concerns? We'll talk about this SEAP as well. But what are the common concerns which you hear as the leader of that association?
Concerns around manpower or concerns around?
Concerns around moving to solar.
Sure.
People's concerns around moving to
So
solar.
in 2026, it is how quickly can we do it? In 2015, it was, do we really need to do it?
Do we really need to? Okay.
So I think the concerns are now coming about the early successes. We are cannibalizing on our own success. When we could do something earlier in 30 days, now people want us to do it in 10. And that is, I think they're not wrong in it. It's something that the technology and the industry needs to keep growing and developing. We are fast adopters of technology, not only soft technology in terms of systems, but also hard technology on the ground. So we are doing a lot of automation in our installation processes. We are using highly mechanized tools to install systems. We have a continuous industry academia partnership where we are developing new tech to help manpower deliver faster.
Okay.
So it is as simple as robotic cleaning systems of large solar parks. It is as simple as developing backpack-based cleaning systems.
Okay.
It is as simple as developing and installing solar modules at scale through a mechanized process. All of which is really what we are focusing on today as tech. But largely, I would say the industry's demand now is, please let's get it done as quickly as possible.
Very interesting. So it was good. It is great talking to you, Rounak. But I have a very personal question, like for
Sure.
you, that beyond this geek which we are talking to, right? Sorry, I don't want to call you a geek, but beyond
Absolutely.
this, what is it that Rounak is apart from energy and power?
Oh, I don't know, other than energy and power, I love playing with my son. I love playing any and every sport possible. So I spend a lot of time outside work playing. and spending time with my family
Something
and
in
son.
common.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to have you come for a pickup game of badminton, paddle, cricket anytime possible.
Anytime.
So you will see me around courts of Baner and Aund anytime after 10 p.m.
Nice.
That's something that I love to do. I love to teach, although I cannot spend as much time as I would like to.
Mhm.
I like to give back at least to the communities that we do. So I'm a part of the Alumni Association in University of Pune, in my alma mater at Vishwakarma Institute of Technology.
Okay.
We are a part of a lot of industry think tanks that wants to do this. So yeah, that's what I am.
And my last question.
Sure.
Your most favorite memory of Pune?
Uh-huh.
Anything.
Sure.
And what do you love the most about Pune?
I think the monsoons. I think they're. I think you cannot romanticize it enough. Spending time on one of the hundreds of forts that we have around Pune.
Yeah.
I think we're a city that's spoiled for choice in terms of our outdoor activities. I think most weekends in the monsoons you'll see people traveling outside the city into one of the lovely places that we have. So I think the most favorite memory I have is just spending time anywhere. Probably you can even call it within the city, on either on MG Road or whatever, on GM Road or wherever, just sipping a cup of coffee or a cup of tea when it's raining somewhere. So I think that's something that I can always cherish, and even speaking now can give me that nostalgia.
Thank you so much, Rounak. It was amazing, and it is very insightful I'm sure, for me and all the audience which is hearing this, because it's a completely different sector we are covering, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to actually understand and acknowledge the kind of hard work and the kind of orchestration which goes behind every switch which we turn on.
Sure. So the
thank
next
you
time
so-
you're going to turn on something, you're going to think about how it's going through.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much, Rounak.
Thank
It was
you.
nice talking to you.
Same here. Thank you.
Here we end another episode of Pulse of Tech by SEAP. Hope we were able to give you insights on how energy orchestration is as important as energy generation. See you in another episode. Till then, please like, share, and subscribe.